do your affirmative action program.
Okay, great, thank you. So then I guess I just have one final comment. Again, I really appreciate the discussion, the discussion responses and the presentation. So, if you were to go out and talk to people in the community, and especially BIPOC groups and BIPOC leaders, and sort of tell them that according to our affirmative action plan that we're all good to go with our hires, no need to worry. I can tell you myself, based on the conversations I have and the experience I have in our community, that I would get some weird looks and people would disagree with me entirely. In fact, Talk of Alaska, recently there was a discussion on this very topic where, sort of as one example, I guess focused in on Black lawyers in Alaska. And they spoke about sort of the stagnation in the number of Black lawyers in Alaska over the last decade and how it's pretty much not grown, right? And unfortunately, the way our affirmative action plan works, the data used, the tests done, from my standpoint and perspective, sort of it defends the status quo. To be clear, no one's to blame for that. You put in the data, it spits out the results, and the affirmative action plan is technically correct. It is what it is based on the data you put in. I say kudos to the folks who did the work. But I think just because the data says that we're good doesn't really mean that we're good from a community's perspective. Affirmative action plans, from my perspective, at least the way that this is done, they're not really meant to change the status quo. And I think that's what many in our community are asking for. So definitely looking forward to see what we can do sort of beyond the envelope of what this plan has in line to how we can delve into these, what I think probably the plan sees more as workforce issues versus strictly affirmative action issues. Again, I appreciate this. And, I think just one final comment, one of the things that I found most striking in your presentation was looking at the working age population versus employment, and how sort of all of the non-white numbers went down significantly, whereas the number and percentage for the white population went up a lot. It was like 10 or 12% that it went up. So, that just tells me that there is a lot of work to do in this arena. And I hope that this presentation that you provided, if you haven't sent it to the clerk, that would be really helpful so that we can get it up online and we can take a deeper look at some of the numbers you presented. Thanks.
Assemblymember Rivera, thank you. This is Nikki Shabaka. Just a couple of quick comments. I think Ron wanted to also respond as well. I appreciate what you just shared, especially using an example of the Black lawyers. And I think that's one of those things where obviously the municipality can increase the number of Black lawyers in the workforce, but it is certainly something that, we all can partner with other organizations and entities and stakeholders who are concerned about that issue, and see how we can collaborate together to increase those numbers of African Americans in the workforce who have law degrees and have passed the bar. But obviously, as a young OA, we don't control, as you sort of indicated, the workforce side of it. One thing about what you just observed on the numbers, the percentages, I think Ron wanted to mention something about it. But one thing I would also note, though, is the population, the white population, percentage-wise, is much larger than any sort of individual minority percentage-wise. So, when you have a huge increase that you're seeing on the white population side, that should be expected given the larger percentage of white people in our community, I would say. But I don't know, Ron, if you wanted to add something to that.
Oh, with regard to that, that is mainly driven by the occupations that we employ. I mean, and maybe more to your point a little earlier, Mr. Rivera, I fully understand and acknowledge, what you're saying. In fact, in the AAP we submitted, it's mentioned there that, we are taking, census based data from our locality, and we're measuring ourselves against that. But absolutely, there could definitely exist disparities within the larger community or within larger professional areas that stem from long-standing other societal factors. Totally true.